Hello.
Hey, is this Heathen?
Yes, it is. Is this Scott?
It is. How you doing, man?
Great, man. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm at home in Memphis.
Yeah.
Set it up for another couple days before we hit the road.
Fantastic. Okay, so you're living in Memphis now.
I've been in Memphis. The guys are we're kind of from I would just say the Mid-South.
Okay.
I'm in Memphis. Scotty and Steven are from Jackson, so we're all like within 70 miles of one another.
Yeah, because the Wikipedia thing says Corinth, and I know that that's pretty damn close to Memphis anyways, which is kind of how you guys got started because of the guy who was already working with bands like Saliva and 12 Stones, right?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. Skid Mills is his name.
What a rad name, Skid Mills.
Yeah, I wish that were his real name, but I don't think it is.
You know what? We'll make it honorary because I do a show called Skid Marks. It's all about cars and rock stars. So you'll have to get Skid on the show one time.
Yeah, man. I bet he can't talk cars, but I bet he'd be funny as hell to have on there.
You know what? That's great. We'll take it. He doesn't have to talk cars. I don't know that much about cars either, and I host the damn show.
That's funny.
Now, there's Make America Rock Again tour. Fantastic show. I actually found out about it when Terry from Alien Ant Farm posted about it. He's been a buddy of mine for a while, and it's another one of those weird connections. He did the video for the most recent Saliva song, and you guys were at the same Memphis studio and live in Memphis like Saliva, and 12 Stones is also out of that same studio too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's... This all started for us in about 2005, 2006 with Skid Mills. And he had already worked with a variety of rock artists that are from this region. This region has produced, I mean, you've got Saliva, you've got like Three Doors Down, you've got 12 Stones, you've got Devour a Day, just a lot of rock bands. This is predominantly, like, especially Memphis, known for blues, but rock and roll came from the blues, and so it's got this very active rock scene as well. It's kind of like a veritable smorgasbord of rock and roll and blues. And Saliva, I remember when they hit, because I was like, I don't know, I was still kind of young, and I just always kind of looked up to them, and it opened my eyes to that active rock kind of what's the word I'm looking for? High gain guitar, but still with some southern inflections and big, powerful hooks. And that's the direction we went, and we ended up being very great friends with Saliva and 12 Stones. So this is going to be nuts. We're all really good friends, and I mean, we're going to get into a lot of trouble on this tour. You can rest assured.
I bet you are. Speaking of trouble, you may or may not remember this. Last time you guys were in Lubbock, I believe you and Scotty and me all ended up out at a strip bar.
Yeah, that happens. What are you going to do, man?
Well, I tell you, I love the story, except for the one fact where we got there, and a friend of mine who runs the club or manages the club was like, "Hey, you guys come hang out in the VIP room," and I was like, "All right, great." And we sit down, and then there's some girls come up to us, and literally 5 minutes later, some chick goes, "That'll be $120 for all three of you," and I was like, "Why? I didn't order anything. Did you guys ask for this?"
Oh, man. Well, we got to change that. We got to go back and get that money back.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? Better yet, I'll just come hang out with you guys, and you can take me out, and we'll just call it even. How's that?
That sounds fantastic. We'll provide the Jack Daniels.
There you go. That sounds like a great time. You guys are doing this Make America Rock tour. You're hitting Odessa and you're hitting Dallas, and you've got all. How many different dates are you guys? If you got Drowning Pool on some dates, POD on some, maybe Puddle of Mud if West Scantlin is still kicking around.
I have heard rumblings of quite a few shows where they're getting added. I think that what it is that you got. So, like, a lot of people expressed a lot of interest in this tour. The sentiment behind it was there's a lot of bands from around the same time that had pretty big success at radio. And the game kind of changed along the way. And we're bands that have had hits, and we've been trying to have more hits, but we've gotten ourselves into positions where we finally own everything. I know, especially for Saving Abel. we're not owned by a label. We're all completely self-contained in our band. And I know that that's what a lot of these other bands are doing, because they'd rather have the ownership of the band and not be told what to do. Because that's kind of what rock and roll is all about, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't answer to you. Like, this is our thing. And when that happens, it's great because you have this freedom to do what you want, but the money really slows down because labels are kind of like banks. And they have a way of funding everything for you. A lot of us just decided, it's kind of tough to sell tickets this day and age, at least compared to how it was 5-6 years ago in the rock and roll markets. So we figured we're all drawing pretty well, but what if we all band together and just did this? I bet we could sell out some big rooms. And Texas has always been a great market for all of us bands. So we're really excited to kind of kick off the tour there. And we got a string of dates down there in Texas, and we're really excited, and we think it's going to do quite well.
I think you'll do great, and it makes total sense what you were saying, because looking at this lineup, Trapped, Saliva, Saving Abel, Alien Ant Farm, Crazy Town, 12 Stones, Tantric, some shows with Drowning Pool, some shows with Puddle of Mud, some shows with POD. And, I mean, it makes perfect sense. That is the last run of rock bands to really own radio. I think the band on there that had the most recent radio single was POD. Other than that, radio singles just aren't the same as they used to be, and you guys are taking it all out in one big shot.
Yeah, I mean, we actually have this is kind of a cool problem to have, but we didn't know how to do it. Like, we went into pre-production. We're like, okay, so some of these shows, we have a 30-minute set, but we've had 7 top 10 hits in active rock. So there's the set.
Right, that's the whole set, or you might even have to axe a track or two depending on how long you talk to the crowd.
Exactly, and so we were just thinking, the whole point for us, we want to get some of this new stuff out. So we're trying to find creative ways to do it, and we've been trying to kind of like rehearse a little bit. We just put our new video for 15 Minutes of Fame, which is a song that we didn't really release. It's on the last record, but we didn't go for ads for it or anything like that, because we were still getting our feet under us. We have weathered the storm of changing singers. That much I can comfortably say. It's been 2.5 to 3 years, and people have accepted the new lineup. Now it's time to go for some more hits at radio and preach the gospel of Saving Abel to the masses.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, Scotty Austin, great frontman. I think you guys landed on the perfect choice for singers. So the band seems like it's nice and whole again, which is always a good thing, especially when you're out on stage, and he's got that frontman vibe to him for sure.
Yeah, it's and we've weathered the storm together to where we have to be so incredibly close. It's like those brothers. Like, we fight, we make up, we get drunk, and then we do it again. I mean, it's everything about rock and roll that I always wanted in a band. It just took me a little while to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, all of you guys being that close, with this many bands on the lineup, I'm assuming there's kind of like a 6 degrees of separation where somebody in each band knows somebody in each other band. And that's kind of how a lot of this came together, was friends and friends and friends of friends, right?
It was funny. When I saw the lineup, I was like, check. I have their numbers, like, in my, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to reach out to them. Paul from Saliva and I are very good friends. He was the drummer in my side project a few years back. Chris and I from Trapped, he told me this idea. This was kind of, he was the one that started this whole thing in motion. So he and I talked about it at length, and he was like, he had just a lot of cool ideas about it. He pitched it to me, and I was like, keep us in mind. And then about 6 months ago, he called me again. He was like, what if I told you we were going to do this? I was like, man, sign us up. I'd love to do something new. I mean, if we're not going to go overseas anytime soon, let's just dominate the end of the summer and the fall. And, I've got stories with Hugo. I've got stories with all these bands, man. I played on the last Tantric record, which was produced in Chris Henderson's studio from 3 doors down. So it's all very incestuous. It's all rock and roll, man.
So how do you guys handle the lineup each night? I mean, is it set, or are you guys always rotating? Just you'll go on first, you'll go on second. How is that going to go down?
I believe the last way I heard is that it's set. And the last I heard was Trapped is headlining, which makes sense because this was Chris's idea first. I have no issue with that. And Saliva and us are like co-direct support.
Right.
But we've deferred to them to let them go on directly before Trapped. It's like the right thing to do. It's like in the South, we say respect your elders, and those guys have been around a little longer than us. So,
right.
And then I think then it's like Alien Ant Farm is right before us, and then Crazy Town maybe, and then Tantric and 12 Stone starts the show. Now, on the ones with like Drowning Pool and Puddle, I don't really know how that's going to go down. And I think none of us really know how all this is going to go down. We're just all excited to be doing something new, Well,
and I assume at some point, everybody from every band is going to get up and you guys are all going to like super mega jam Purple Rain or some shit like that, right?
I would love to. I know every note of that guitar solo.
Hey, Scott, man, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us. Are you guys out on a tour bus? Are you guys vanning it for this one? How's that going down?
We're going to do a bus. We figure it's about 10 weeks. It's probably worth the expense. Those things can get really pricey, but when you're carrying a full crew, and we've all been really smart as far as we were talking about having a dedicated back line for the entire tour. So that means no drummer egos. We're all friends. It's like, let's just share a kit. Let's put that one drum kit up there, and that way everybody can have a little more time on stage. I said people can use my guitar cabinet if they want to, or I'll use theirs. We'll just rotate out the heads. So it's really anybody's ball game. I mean, if we all decide to get up and jam, don't be surprised. There's no telling.
All right, well, I'm just going to have to come see the show one night, and you promised you'll hook me up with backstage, and we'll hang out with you. Because, I mean, Wayne from Saliva's a buddy of mine. Terry from Alien Ant Farm's a friend of mine. I've hung out with Hugo, myself, the guys in Drowning Pool. This is like a family show for me, too.
Well, Wayne is probably one of my favorite guitar players, and he and I have this mutual respect for each other's playing. Like I know he and I are probably going to sit backstage and trade licks every now and again. So yeah, that's really cool, man. I'll text him, you say hello, and you text him that I say hello, and we'll see what happens.
I will text him and I'll say Scott from Saving Abel says he's going to lick you backstage.
Yeah. You know what my favorite thing about him is, man, is that redneck. He's a really intelligent cat. He understands the radio game very well. But he was just raised in the sticks, man. I mean, country. And so he's like, man, he can't even say, I'm 52 years old. He has to go, I'm 52-year-old.
No, isn't that great? And he dresses, he walks in like you'd expect this deep, like almost Zach Wilde kind of voice coming out of him. And then you just hear him talk and almost want to die laughing.
Yeah, man. And, we've got that, too. Jason's out like this. We got Boomhauer in our band. I mean, this is going to be a good time, man, because we got the bands from California and the bands from the South that make fun of the bands from California. So it ought to be pretty interesting. And we all have, again, mutual respect for one another. So it's going to be a lot of trash talk, but a lot of good times.
I think this would be a great time to somebody try to make a tour DVD. This would be one of the best ones out there.
We'd have to get a lot of footage just because I don't know how much we'd be able to put out there. I don't know. I don't really know how that goes.
You could have one of those deleted scenes with all the naughty stuff.
Okay, I can dig that.
Hey, man, thanks.
I like the way you're thinking.
See, you know what? I'm telling you, you've got to record the naughty stuff, and then you figure out whether you want it on the cutting room floor or not.
Oh, man, I'm liable to black out and end up approving some stuff that I shouldn't. But, it's still rock and roll, so I'm down.